Welcome to a special edition of the Sandy and Toddcast / Empathicary. We're kind of tying this one into both brands this time and taking a quick break from our season, really, which we've had a lot of fun with the questions and answers from our listeners and all that fun stuff, to actually just basically do a little check-in on everybody and share something very briefly that happened to our family and as a Sandy and Toddcast family and beyond, and just the importance of knowing that it doesn't have to go that way, basically.
Yeah, it's a rough world, Todd. It's a really, really, and I'm going to get emotional. It's a really tough world. There's so much negativity out there. And you know, I'm 52 and I look back on my childhood and my teen years and my early adulthood, and it was incredibly difficult for me. And that was so many years ago. And I just can't imagine what it's like for these young people today. I can't imagine what it's like for these military veterans today in a world that has progressed so quickly and in a lot of ways, so negatively. I just can't imagine the pain that some of these people experience. Some of the people that we know, that we love, that we're with every day. And suicide is a huge issue. Mental health is a huge, huge issue today. And I think it's important that we all recognize that and we all think about it and are intentional in our thought process about it, because it happens to people that we know, that we love. It happens to people who know it's like, how do I want to say this? It's like a chain.
Yeah.
We're all interconnected with each other. And especially as empaths, I mean, that's a really tough thing. We,
to give just a very brief and generic statement, somebody within our extended family lost a family member in the last week to suicide. And it was somebody that Sandy and I were just getting to know.
Yeah.
But I will just say that the perception that I had was this individual had a really positive outlook on life and did things to make other people happy. And I'm not saying that, that they worked hard at that. They just had a very nice personality. And again, my interaction with this individual was very limited, but I remember walking away from one interaction going, that's a cool person, and then we find out very abruptly that they had taken their life. And very sad, not only for that individual, but for the family members, the ones that we've gotten to know a little bit over time. And again, I reached out to Sandy because we were both kind of, as everybody was, taken aback by it. Like, whenever someone takes their life, you think back to signs like, what could we have seen that would have shown us? And a lot of times we just don't know. We don't see them. I think of Twitch from the Ellen DeGeneres show and You Think You Can Dance and all the stuff that he did. And then he took his own life. And he was the one that everybody said was the light in the room. When he walked in, that was it, right? He was all about other people's. And I remember when that happened, I said to you, I wonder if there was some empath stuff going on there as well in his life. Like, he seemed like the individual that probably was empathic and had some abilities. But I digress from that just to say, I can't imagine that someone listening has never thought of the solution, quote unquote, solution of taking your life. I think that's something that, if we're all honest with ourselves, right? If we all look in the mirror and go, I'm being honest about this, most of us, if not all of us, have at least once in our life thought about that as an option.
150%. And maybe not on the same levels.
Right.
Sometimes we're just really upset and we kind of half half-heartedly think, oh, geez, if I ended my life, this would all go away. But then we all have that extra couple of seconds to think, okay, that's not who I am. That's not what I need or want in my life. And you sort of move on. But it's important to remember that not everyone thinks that way. And there are some people who mask their depression, their sadness, their hopelessness very, very well. And one thing I do want to say is never, ever, ever blame yourself. Never look back and say, oh, I should have seen this or I should have seen that, because a lot of times there is absolutely no way that you will see it. Now, that's not every case. Sometimes people do cry out for help and they try to get the help. And sometimes it's just not enough. But I want everyone to understand that it's never really your fault. When you love someone that much, when you're there for them and it still happens, it's not your fault. It's just an important thing to understand.
Right. And I also think, and I know we're going to give some information in a little bit in case, and I know for a fact that some of the people that listen to our podcast on a weekly basis or whatever, I know that some of these people have depression and anxiety and have these thoughts. I know that because I've had personal conversations with those individuals. But I just, I come across as the dark cloud. Mm-hmm. I just do. I'm the dark cloud. I'm the one that will rain on your picnic, just so that you know that it's possible that it could rain on your picnic, right? I'm the one that's going to take your bubble and I'm going to burst it.
And you have.
And I have. And I never do it. It's never out of meanness. But my point in saying that is, I do try every day in my interactions with humans to be as kind and I guess I try to think about the fact that we just don't know what people are going through. I actually got out of the house twice this week. I actually
That's
left
amazing.
the house, right? And I actually went to my job and had interactions with some of my coworkers. And I was very kind. So I'm proud of myself for that. But my point in saying that is a smile, a positive message on Facebook if you're feeling it, holding the door open if you're walking into a store. I remember I worked for a company and the big thing there was servant leadership. And that was, how can I help? Literally, your entire vision was, how can I help this situation? And whether it's an old couple putting groceries in their car and you go help take their cart back for them or whatever, it's being aware of what's going on around you. So if you have the ability to say something kind, to be a little light for someone else, you may help that person that day. And in return, we all need a little of that back, right? There's only so much in our wells that we can give too. So we have to think about our own mental health and our own energy and what we need to survive and carry on. And we need to feed that. We need to make sure we feed that. Kindness
in this world goes so far. And it's such an important thing. Just saying hello to someone walking down the street. We just had our storm door on the side of our house replaced the other day. And I was in the middle of working and I was very busy. But the contractor came and he wanted to talk to me, as with a lot of empaths. People just want to talk to you.
Sandy gets everybody's life story in 10 minutes.
I literally got his life story and he told me all kinds of things, but I could have excused myself and said, okay, I'm going to watch, the news. But I stood there and I let him tell me his story. And it took an extra 10 or 15 minutes out of my life. But in the end, it was kindness. It was just being kind to someone. And I don't know if that made the difference in his day. Maybe it did. You don't know. So if you're kind and you try to help and you're courteous to people, that's all anyone can ask for. That's all anyone can ask for. And again, it comes back to if you're kind instead of mean or nasty to someone, you may make that difference. That's what you did to them, for them. You made that difference for them in their day. That's so important. I can't stress that enough. But you shouldn't, if you are someone's friend, a lot of times you're not going to see signs. And you can't think that you could have done more or you should have done more, because a lot of times their mind is made up and that's just what it is. So just be kind and just give them that support and let them know you're always there for them. Todd, you and I are always there for anyone who wants to talk to us. You can message us. You can email us. If you need somebody to talk to, we are there.
Yep. And here's the other thing, like, I think that we know this about our country, but there's this big stigma about mental health.
Yes.
And I think sometimes when people do try to reach out, we know that they're looked at poorly.
Right.
Oh, they're just looking for attention. Oh, they're always unhappy. Oh, they're always complaining. There's a difference between always complaining and always being depressed and hiding that. And I will just say that if you have these feelings, if you're going through anxiety, if you're going through depression, some of us are not capable of helping you as much as you need. There are places, there are people that will help. And if you're feeling these things, the last thing you should feel, on top of feeling depressed, on top of feeling anxious, is feeling bad for feeling that way.
Right.
You don't need that. And so there are places you can call. There's websites you can go to get the help. And I just hope that this message today, if you ever need this, that you use this information and don't feel bad about it. That's why it's there.
That's right. And I'm going to give you some ways that you can reach out. There is a suicide prevention lifeline. It's literally called Lifeline. The website is 988lifeline.org. You can call 1-800-273-TALK, or now they have a new 3-digit dialing code which connects you to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's 98. If you don't have those numbers, you can go right to 988lifeline.org and get all of the information. I was just on the website. It's an amazing website. There's so many things that you can learn, and there's contact information. If you are the loved one of someone who is dealing with depression or dealing with a hopelessness in their life, it's very important that you go on there too. And it's also important to note, Todd, that if you're thinking of harming yourself, you should definitely call. But it's also available for loved ones of people who are thinking of harming themselves. So if you think that someone you love and care for may try to do something to themselves, to harm themselves, you can get the support you need as well. Because a lot of us, let's face it, we just don't know what to do. We don't know how to handle that situation. So 988lifeline.org, 1-800-273-TALK, or just 988. It's a 3-digit dialing code, and that will put you directly connected to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
I hear so much talk about people who go to therapy, or they see a counselor, or they talk to their spiritual advisor. And, some people think, that's all poo-poo, whatever. Sometimes you just need somebody to listen. Like, you don't need an answer necessarily. You just need somebody to listen. And I know that sometimes, like, we may not verbally talk all week, you and I. There'll be a little text here, a little text there, maybe a long message here, a long message there. And then we get together for our our weekly, prayer session before the podcast.
Yep.
And we both just go, oh, bleh, and then you go, bleh,
Yeah.
we go bleh together, and then we get on the podcast and we do it. So,
But don't we feel so much better after we got to talk about what's going on with us? People lead very busy lives. Everybody's busy. But maybe think about that. That's a great point. Maybe think about taking the time to connect even once a week with the people that you love and saying, hey, are you okay? What's been going on with you? Here's what's been going on with me.
right. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be the bad stuff. I mean, there's good stuff to share in life too. And I think
That's right.
if we remember that, and I think about this individual who took their life, and I remember sitting there thinking, oh my word, what a great individual. Like, there was a part of me going, I wish I was that cool. Seriously, I wish I was that cool. And then they're gone. And it's like, everybody thinks their lives are the worst. And we just don't know. So please go ahead.
Oh, if you are an empath, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. Be ready for it, because I will tell you, I am still being affected by this loss. I am being affected by the loss of this individual. I am being affected by the feelings of the loss of his family, his potential, everything about this person and the dynamic in that family is affecting me. And that's nothing compared to what the family themselves are going through. But at the same time, it will affect you as an empath.
And I'm just amazed too. And again, it's always hindsight thinking. And this individual's family member, who we both have gotten to know rather well, just a great person. Like, again, kind.
Yes.
She also has gifts and all that kind of stuff. And it's like nobody deserves this to happen in their life. Nobody deserves to lose someone like this. And this individual is certainly in that category as well. And it's like, it was not the news I was expecting from her.
No, not at all. Before we wrap up for this episode, this special episode, I just want to read some of the warning signs. These aren't all of the warning signs. They may not show to everyone, but as I said, the more intentional you are in your thoughts, in your thought process about suicide and suicide prevention and being aware. And spirituality to me is partly just being aware of the things around you and being more intentional and thoughtful of your surroundings. So these are just some of the warning signs that you may know someone and may want to look at them a little closer and maybe be a little kinder to them and reach out and say, if you need to talk, I'm here for you. Looking for a way to kill themselves, like searching online or buying a gun out of the blue. Talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live. Talking about feeling trapped or in unbearable pain. Talking about being a burden to others. Increasing the use of alcohol or drugs. Acting anxious or agitated, behaving recklessly. Sleeping too little or too much. Withdrawing or isolating themselves. Showing rage or talking about seeking revenge. And extreme mood swings, either extremely happy or extremely sad. Those are just some of the warning signs. Those are things that we should all take into account and think about our loved ones and the people that we're around all the time. And even if there's one or two of those, reach out. Tell them you love them. We love you. We love you guys. So we're always, always, always here.